Unauthorized personnel detected. State your authorization code. Unauthorized personnel detected. State your authorization code.
And we are back to the channel. Now, the story we're diving into today, this one changes everything. Strap in, because we are about to uncover the secret the galaxy tried so hard to bury.
The void between stars was not empty. It was a canvas of cosmic radiation, gravitational whispers, and the faint, persistent echo of creation itself. To the sensor arrays of the UNSC Endeavour, a state-of-the-art Pathfinder-class vessel, it was a symphony of data. But today there was a wrong note, a dissonant chord that had drawn them 2 weeks coreward from their survey mission into a sector so old and quiet it was officially designated Locus Silentium, the place of silence. On the bridge, Commander Alistair Vance stroked the gray stubble on his chin, his eyes fixed on the main holographic display. "Run the diagnostic again, Lieutenant." His voice a low rumble that barely carried over the hum of the ship's systems. 17 times, Commander. It's not a ghost. It's a signal, a structured, repeating pulse on a bandwidth that, well, it shouldn't exist. Define shouldn't, said Dr. Eris Thorne, the ship's xenohistorian, who had been permitted on the bridge for this specific anomaly. He was a lean man, all sharp angles and nervous energy, clutching a data slate to his chest like a shield. Sharma finally turned, her expression one of pure scientific bewilderment. "It's a pre-diaspora carrier wave, late 21st century, if I'm reading the modulation right. It's the technological equivalent of finding a smoke signal in the middle of a fusion power plant. It's primitive, impossibly so for this location." The diaspora, the great scattering of humanity across the galaxy, triggered by the discovery of the slipstream drive nearly 500 years ago. The technology from that era was museum pieces, the foundational code for their own modern systems. To find a signal of that vintage out here, light years from any known ancient settlement route, was like finding a perfectly preserved Viking longship anchored in the middle of the Pacific. "Source," Vance commanded. "That's the other impossibility, sir," Sharma replied, gesturing to the display. A star chart materialized, highlighting a red dwarf system so insignificant it didn't even have a name, just a catalog number, GSC 7482b. "It's coming from the 5th planet. Scans show it's a cold rock, barely clinging to a thin atmosphere of nitrogen and CO2, no magnetic field to speak of. Surface temp averages at -80 Celsius. It's a tomb." "A tomb broadcasting a welcome," Torn murmured, his eyes gleaming with a historian's fervor. "Commander, we could be looking at the most significant
The signal led them to a mountain, or what seemed to be one. It was too symmetrical, a great sloped dome of rock and ice that rose from the plain. "Readings are off the charts," Thorne said, his voice crackling over the comms. He was holding a scanner that was frantically beeping. "The entire structure is laced with neutronium and other degenerate matter. This isn't a natural formation. It's a shell, a bunker." "Find a door," Valerius ordered, his Gauss rifle held at a ready low. It was Zheng who found it, a seamless hexagonal indentation on what appeared to be a sheer cliff face. As they approached, hidden sensors activated. A deep, resonant hum vibrated through their boots, and a section of the rock, 10 meters high, irised open with a grinding sound of machinery that had not moved in millennia. A puff of ancient preserved atmosphere hissed out, forming crystals in the frigid air. Beyond lay darkness, thick and absolute. Lights, Valerius said. The marine's helmet lamps pierced the gloom, revealing a vast cavernous space. The beams played over shapes, massive, geometric, and dormant. They were walking into an antechamber of colossal proportions. In the center of the chamber, illuminated by the crossing beams of their lights, stood a single monolithic plinth. And on that plinth was a sight that made Thorn gasp, and the Marines tightened their grip on their weapons. It was a suit of power armor, but unlike any ever fielded by the UNSC. It was heavier, more brutalist in its design, all sharp angles and thick overlapping plates of a dull, non-reflective gray metal. It was scarred and pitted, as if it had weathered a sandstorm for 1,000 years. On its chest plate, faded but unmistakable, was the old pre-diaspora flag of the United Nations, and below it, stenciled in block letters, were the words, Terran Guardian Corps, Sol System Defense Force. "My God," Thorn whispered, stepping forward, his scanner forgotten. The Guardian Corps. They were a myth, a story told to children, the last line of defense for old Earth before the slipstream. As Thorn reached a hand out, the chamber suddenly flared to life. Strip lighting embedded in the high ceiling activated with a low thrum, banishing the shadows and revealing the full, terrifying scope of the space. It was a hangar, and it was filled with row upon row, column upon column of identical suits of Guardian armor.
The silence in the hangar was absolute, broken only by the low hum of ancient power systems and the frantic, shallow breathing of the Marines. The air, once still and preserved, now crackled with tension. 10,000 suits of dormant armor stood as silent witnesses to the standoff, a forest of metal and forgotten purpose surrounding the single active sentinel. "Hold your fire!" Valerius's voice was a whip crack, a command honed in a dozen firefights. His finger rested on the trigger guard of his Gauss rifle, not the trigger itself. A single spark in this powder keg would get them all killed. The warden's stance was not of aggression, but of readiness. It was a wall of dormant fury, its single red eye an unblinking star of cold assessment. Dr. Thorn, however, seemed to have forgotten the concept of danger. He took a stumbling step forward, his hands raised, not in surrender, but in a gesture of desperate scholarly appeal. "Warden Unit 734, my name is Dr. Oris Thorn, a xenohistorian with the United Nations Space Command. We mean you no harm. We are descendants of Earth. We came because of your signal." The warden's head tilted a fraction of a degree, a strangely organic gesture for something so mechanical. The red eye pulsed faintly. "UNSC designation not found in databases. United Nations is a recognized political entity. Your biometric profiles are within human parameters. Explain the temporal discrepancy." "Temporal discrepancy?" Thorn whispered. Then his eyes widened. "The date. Commander, it doesn't know how long it's been." From the Endeavour in high orbit, Commander Vance's voice was tight in their comms. "We're reading you, Doctor. The entire hangar just lit up like a Christmas tree on our energy scans. What is your status? We've made contact, Commander, Valerius reported, his gaze locked on the warden. It's an autonomous combat unit. It identifies as a warden of the Terran Guardian Corps. It's asking for the date. There was a pause on the channel. Tell it. Thorn swallowed, his throat dry. Warden, according to our calendar, the current year is 2567 post-diaspora. The slipstream drive was invented in 2105. The Guardian Corps, your records, they were believed to be from the late 21st century. The warden stood perfectly still for 3 full seconds. To the Marines, it felt like an hour. The humming in the hangar seemed to deepen in pitch. Calculating. Confirmed. Stasis duration. 478 years, 3 months, 14 days. The synthesized voice was flat.
Commander, you're getting all this? Valerius said quietly. Every word, Vance replied, his voice grim. Sergeant, this changes everything. Our priority is now the security of that containment. Warden, is the threat still contained? The warden's head swiveled, its red eye looking towards the far end of the hangar, past the ranks of silent armor, towards the shrouded relic of the UNS Icarus. The containment field is stable. However, my long-range sensors detected an anomalous energy signature approximating the sculptor's psionic profile in a nearby system 3 solar cycles ago. It was the event that triggered my awakening from deep stasis and initiated the distress beacon. 3 solar cycles, 3 years. Around the time the UNSC had first begun surveying this sector. Anomalous energy signature, Lieutenant Sharma's voice cut in from the bridge. Warden, can you transmit the sensor data? We've cataloged every energy emission in this sector for the last decade. Transmitting. On the bridge of the Endeavour, Sharma's console lit up. The data was in an archaic format, but the computer cross-referenced it instantly. Her blood ran cold. Commander, it's a match, a 94% probability match to a transient energy pulse we detected and logged from the Kythera system 3 years ago. We classified it as a unique form of magnetar burst. Kythera, a system with 2 habitable zone planets, currently being scouted for potential colonization. By the gods, Vance whispered. The sculptor wasn't just a story in a tomb. A piece of it was out there, and the UNSC had likely flown right past it. Down in the hangar, the situation was evolving. The warden took its gaze from the Icarus and returned it to Valerius. Your presence here is a violation of quarantine protocol. However, your technology and biological status indicate you are the designated relief force. You will assist in the permanent neutralization of the sculptor threat. It wasn't a request. It was a statement of fact, a new directive overriding the old ones. Warden, we are explorers, not soldiers in your war, Valerius said, holding his ground. The war is everyone's, the warden replied, its tone final. The sculptor does not negotiate. It consumes. It will consume your worlds as it attempted to consume ours. You will come with me. It turned and began. Private Cato, the rookie, stumbled back, clutching his helmet. I heard something. Whispering. Psionic leakage. Minimal. Your neural architecture is unshielded. Maintain distance, the warden commanded, its red eye fixed on the sphere. The fragment detected in the Kythera system is a separate, smaller piece. It must be located and destroyed before it can grow
or worse, attempt to free the host consciousness contained here. The warden turned its gaze from the prison to Valerius. Your vessel is now the flagship of the Terran Guardian Corps. We will proceed to the Kythera system and initiate purification protocols. On the Endeavor, Commander Vance listened to the transmission, his face pale. The warden wasn't just a relic. It was a commanding officer reactivating an decommissioned army, and it had just drafted his ship and his crew. The Kythera system has 2 colony candidates, he said to his bridge crew, tens of thousands of surveyors and engineers. He looked at the main screen, at the data stream from the planet's surface, at the visual of that terrifying sphere of nothingness. The quiet war was over. A new one was beginning, and they were all now unwilling soldiers in a fight for a past they never knew they had. Lieutenant Sharma, he said, his voice heavy with the weight of command. Plot a course for the Kythera system, maximum slipstream velocity, and open a channel to UNSC High Command, Priority Alpha. We're going to need a fleet. The transition from the frozen silence of the hangar to the controlled chaos of the UNSC Endeavor was a jarring shift in reality. The warden, designated Unit 734, stood on the bridge, a monolithic anachronism amidst the sleek consoles and holographic displays. Its sheer mass seemed to warp the space around it, a constant, oppressive reminder of the new, terrifying reality they were all trapped in. The Marines had returned, their armor scuffed and their faces grim, but it was Dr. Thorne who seemed most altered. He moved with a frantic energy, his eyes wide, data slates clutched in his hands as he shadowed the ancient machine, a pilgrim in the presence of
Full sensor sweep, Commander Vance ordered, his voice rough with fatigue. Passive only. I don't want so much as a communication laser pinging until we know what we're looking at. Lieutenant Sharma's hands flew across her console. ICER, scanning now. The main viewport lit up with data overlays. Reading 2 planets in the habitable zone. Kythera 4, a continental world with extensive archipelagos. Kythera 5, a drier Mars-like world with a thin but breathable atmosphere. Both have active UNSC survey beacons. Life signs are nominal. Define nominal, Valerius grunted from his post. He was in full armor, his squad on high alert. Scattered but strong, thousands of human biosignals on both worlds, consistent with the colonial survey teams. Sharma frowned, manipulating the controls. But there are anomalies. Energy readings are flat. No significant power fluctuations from the colonial prefabs, no comms traffic, just the automated beacons repeating their all-clear status. A cold dread began to pool in Vance's stomach. No comms at all. Try hailing them, standard frequencies. Attempting now. A moment of silence stretched, broken only by the hum of the ship. No response, Commander, from either planet. It's like they're all asleep. The warden, a silent monolith until now, took a single resonant step forward. This sculptor does not kill quickly. It remakes. It consumes the mind and leaves the shell. Your biosignatures may be reading the husks of the former inhabitants. By the gods, Torrance whispered, his face pale. It's already happened. Confirmation is required. Sensors are detecting a concentrated pisonic emanation originating from the southern hemisphere of Kythera 5, the epicenter. We will deploy there. Sergeant, Vance said, his decision made. Take your team. The warden will accompany you. This is a reconnaissance in force.
Your primary objective is to confirm the status of the colonists and locate the source of this emanation. Do not, I repeat, do not engage unless absolutely necessary. The purification device is at 80% completion. We are not ready.
Psionic residue, the warden intoned. Life remade according to the sculptor's aesthetic, a side effect of its presence. They pushed on into the main habitation dome. The doors slid open automatically, revealing the source of the biosigns. The colonists were there, dozens of them. They were seated at tables in the common area, standing near coffee dispensers, gathered in small groups. They were perfectly preserved, their faces frozen in mundane expressions, a half smile, a look of concentration, a yawn, but they were made of the same gray polished stone as the plants. They were statues, caught in the midst of their daily lives, their clothing and hair rendered in exquisite, lifeless detail, a terrible silent tableau of a moment interrupted by an unimaginable force. Medusa's gaze, David's breathed, his weapon trembling slightly. Not stone. Their biological matter has been restructured on a molecular level. The psionic wave converted their bodies into a permanent monument to the sculptor's art. Their minds were consumed first. Private Kaito's screams from the ship suddenly made horrifying sense. This was what he had seen, or felt in his mind. This was the fate the sculptor offered. Scan them, Valerius ordered, his voice tight. Look for anything. Jiang moved her scanner over the nearest statue, a woman reaching for a data slate. No life signs, Sergeant, no residual body heat. But I'm reading a faint energy signature. It's psionic. It's like an echo. As the scanner passed over the statue's head, the stone eyes of the colonist suddenly glowed with a soft, malevolent green light. A wave of psychic static washed over the Marines, a sensation of infinite cold curiosity, like being examined by something vast and utterly alien. The statue's head turned, the stone grinding against stone with a sound that set their teeth on edge. Its mouth, frozen in a gentle smile, opened. A voice, not its own, issued forth, a chorus of 1,000 whispers layered over one another, speaking in perfect unison. It was the voice they had heard on the frozen world, magnified 1,000-fold. New clay, you have come to join the garden. Your forms are interesting, more complex than these. We shall make you beautiful. We shall make you permanent. The Marines opened fire. Gauss rounds capable of punching through tank armor slammed into the stone figure. Chips of gray material flew, but the statue barely flinched. All around the common area, the other statues began to move, their limbs cracking and grinding.
As the condor lifted off, soaring over the rust-colored plains towards the canyon, a new sight greeted them. The land below was no longer barren. Great, intricate patterns, miles across, had been carved into the planet's crust. Spirals, fractals, and geometries that hurt the mind to look at. They pulsed with the same faint green energy. The entire southern hemisphere was becoming the sculptor's canvas. They were not just fighting an enemy. They were walking into the heart of a waking nightmare. An artist's studio where the medium was reality itself and humanity was the clay. The Garden of